Right, welcome back everybody, episode 7 of What the Devil. Today Kane and I are joined by both Flex and Raph. And as last week we didn't really get to talk about the Rashford thing, this week I really do want to talk about Marcus Rashford, his future, and kind of what's been spoken about in the last week. And just on the Ole thing, the Ole interview as well, one other thing he touched on was when he said, you know, he knew at half-time that he was done. He said a couple of players, you know, put your hand up if you don't want to play anymore. And then they put their hands up and people have gone back to that game. The two players that were subbed off were Rashford and McTominay. And at the moment, there's a lot about Marcus Rashford. So when we filmed last week, the interview came out literally a couple hours later, so we didn't really get time to touch on Marcus Rashford. But I want to touch on this now is, I think the people who are talking about, you know, oh, Rashford gave up under Ole, because they're using that as one example. It's the same guy who went basically a year or 2 years with some sort of back problem, or I can't quite remember, a hip problem, shoulder issue, and played every single week in, week out, scored 20 plus goals, I think maybe twice on the Solskjaer, I'm not sure. Played, and he played injured recently as well. I do think for all of the stuff surrounding Rashford, which to a certain extent he is probably responsible for, the Belfast thing, it's a Belfast, they're going out and drinking a load of tequila, and kind of occasionally what he does on the field and what he doesn't do on the field, blah, blah, blah. I still think there's too much stick about him, and some people talking about, you know, potentially getting rid of him, clean slate, cash in while you can on him. But I don't think so. I don't feel ready to quite give up on Rashford, but it might be because I've got an attachment to him. We all do in the way of he's ex-academy. I've watched him go from debut last 8 years. But I just want to touch on Marcus Rashford as the final thing we talk about today, because I feel like he is being, it's all a bit too much around him. And it's a bit. With
like the idea of selling him, I would say that if we want this kind of Ineos change and like, oh, they need to change things, I don't think we can really completely complain if anyone in the squad got so. Maybe there's like a few like new players like Højlund, like why would you sell him? Cobby, obviously, but like 90% of that squad, like I don't, even if you love the player, which like I love Rashford as well, like same that you said, but like if he did end up leaving, you kind of go, okay, this is a new slate. Like, but talking about the criticism, it is like you've got to be 1 or 100. Like with criticism to Marcus Rashford, you can't kind of be in the middle and say he's not been good enough this season, but he's also not been as bad as some people say. He shouldn't have gone the piss, but he doesn't do that. Like people acting like he's like a really bad nuisance off the pitch. Like he's not. I don't think anyway, like obviously we don't know 100%, but I think you can 90% say that that's not like a big problem with him. I just think people who hate him want to hate him, and that's why people are doing this 1+1 with the Ole interview of an hour-and-a-half interview, and it's like, oh, he said players asked to come off at half. Like, like we don't know whether that's true or not, and people are kind of like other people were saying, oh, it's because Rashford could have been one of the players crying, in tears, Ollie mentioned. We don't really, we don't know the story, but like you said, what we do know from reports and kind of what Rashford said, he played under injury for Ollie for a long time. I think I'd rather go off that information than a throwaway comment from Ollie in an hour-long podcast.
Yeah, I think what frustrates everyone is the fact that we've seen him so good. I mean, that one moment against City, probably the only bright moment in the game where he just smashes it in from 25, 30 yards out.
I think it was the hardest shot ever scored.
It was a great goal
in the Premier League.
Yeah, and then last season scoring 30 goals. So that's what's frustrating, knowing how good he is. But I'm a big Rashford fan. And I'm a big Rashford fan, not just because of his quality and his attributes and his ability, but also because he's actually one of our own. Yeah. And I find it really strange how quick we are to turn against our own players. Not us necessarily, but I mean us as a fan base. And I look at, for example, Arsenal, and they have Saka on the right wing, who is one of their own. And yes, Saka is younger and he hasn't, you know, reached the sort of heights in terms of numbers that Rashford has, but they won't turn on Saka the way that a lot of Man United fans have turned on Rashford. And I think that's my reason for not selling him next year. I think, yes, we do need to have a bit of a clear out, but we also need to remember that, as Roy Keane will say, this is Manchester United, and there are some players that, yes, Rashford hasn't been playing well, but he's the sort of player that we need to be very patient with. and give him a bit of allowance because he's one of our own?
I think with Rashford, you have to like compartmentalize different parts. You have to, and you shouldn't really want to have to do this, but you do, because, well, in my opinion, because I'm like, well, the reason why we get this frustrated with Marcus Rashford is because he's one of our own. And when you look at, and he's not as young as we think anymore. Yeah. He's that 8 years you're talking about, he's coming into his prime. What's Marcus Rashford now, 26, 27?
Yeah.
Right, so he's coming into his prime. And we do look to him to be what Saka is at Arsenal, where it's just all loving, you're doing your job, you're hitting amazing heights. Trent to Liverpool, you know, this guy's putting it in more than other players in there because he just gets it. So when we see that he's not doing that with our own eyes on the pitch, whether there's something going on off the pitch as to why he's doing it, whether it's because he's fed up as to why he's not running hard enough or work. When we see that he doesn't look like it in certain games, not every single game, in certain games, our scrutiny is that bit higher because our expectation is that bit higher because his love for the club and devotion is that bit higher than someone who's just been bought for 50 million and come into our football club because of everything he said in that Players Tribune interview. I love this club. Yeah, I had to take 4 buses to get here. Yeah. This is my club. So if we then also look at his performances, I also think it's not even a surprise of what we're seeing Rashford do. In terms of his level of performance since he's ever come in. He's had some really good seasons, he's had some really awful seasons. Marcus Rashford is inconsistent at Manchester United. Then I get that loads of other players have been in this 10-year process because, you know, it's Man United since Sir Alex Ferguson. I get that. But really, his level, when he's really good, is so high and we get frustrated because we want to see that on a consistent basis. And when you look at Saka and you look at Trent, or I'm only using these two because they're they're club guys. Saka's been doing this for 3 years at a consistent level of upwards. Rashford's done that the whole time. Trent is generational and has started and just not looked back. Yeah. And even though Saka hasn't won anything with Arsenal yet, he's on a personal playing from left back to bloody left wing to right wing has just been all just that. So I think it's fair if people criticise his performances and his endeavour if he looks like he's not trying. I don't think it's fair though, like you're saying, to sort of this is why to just say, because I say it through gritted team. My thing is frustration. Yeah. Because you're from the academy and I want you to be our star boy, please prove it, bro. But when I see you going Belfast and that, you have to accept, I'm going to say, you're not taking this thing seriously then. As a fan.
But there's nothing wrong with criticising Rashford. I criticise him. He's had a poor season. Yeah, he deserves it, you're right. But the difference is, someone like Trent, for example, even in these bad moments, right, when people are talking about how he's poor defensively, for example, the Liverpool fans will criticise him, but support him at the same time.
But why do you think
remember the positive?
But what if Trent? But if Trent wasn't running hard enough, or Trent was going out, what do you think Liverpool fans would do then?
Well, I mean, Rashford went out once or twice.
All right, but that's a big thing. You know, that's been one of the biggest catalysts this season. Why this thing's even happened.
Yeah, but also, I mean, to me, the biggest thing for Rashford is his body language, effort on the pitch, which people are watching and focusing. When I'm watching Rashford or watching Man United play, I'm not just straight up looking for negatives. People are watching Rashford, and then as soon as he starts walking, they're hyper-focused. And as soon as he starts walking and not running, oh, look, he's walking again, and we're going to clip it and put it on Twitter. They don't do that to Trent. They don't do that to Saka. So even when they have slight dips in form, they're still being supported by their fans.
They don't not try that.
But also, would you not say, with Trent, the criticism of Trent is defensively, and I would say that even when he's playing amazingly and doing everything that he does well amazingly, he can still switch off defensively for Liverpool because that's just one of his weaknesses.
Yeah, that's fine.
Whereas I also think that they're getting the absolute best out of his strengths with the way that they play, and I feel like you can't defend Rashford's kind of his body language, that entire conversation. You can't completely defend it. But also, when you have got this kind of winger who's direct, at his best, direct, can take on any fullback really, got a really good range of different shots, and you're playing a way that he's making 15 runs in behind per game, and the only player who can really find him throughout these last few years has been Bruno Fernandes, like most other players. I think he said it in an interview with someone where he was like, I made that run because Bruno was on the ball. And it was like, I don't think United, and maybe you should say, they don't have to be geared to Rashford's strengths, because is he as good as Trent is in his respective position? Who knows? But I think that is part of the frustration with Rashford at times, because when you do kind of look at him when he's at his best, you're doing things like passing the ball to him. Saka, I think it was the game against us at Old Trafford maybe last year. I remember their fullbacks and their midfielders were playing it into Saka and Martinelli constantly.
Is that Emirates as well, same thing?
And then I look and you go, when has that happened at United where you just like feed him in constantly with these like, maybe not 1v1s, but 1v2, like in the positions? And maybe it's because he's not in the, it's an argument.
But the opposite to that would be that actually Rashford gets a lot of the ball and wastes it so often. Yeah. Look, I think the frustrations are like, most of the frustration that's been labelled towards Rashford isn't even necessarily one of the deficiencies of his game. So like where you're saying the Trent thing is like, oh, he needs to brush off on his defending, or Saka needs to score more goals with his right foot, or whatever. It's actually about the application, the attitude. Yeah. That's the main thing. I don't see, some people do it, but I think that's the main criticism. The main criticism for me isn't like, why have you not scored 30 goals like you did last year?
Yeah.
Like, that's fine. You might not have scored this much. But I'm saying the base level of what I see 9 times out of 10 this season reminds me of the Oli/Rangnick season, where, again, let's be honest, that season Rashford probably needed what Sancho needed. Yeah. Some time out. He was walking outside of Old Trafford, like, rattled and was going to, like, go at a fan. Remember that? He's coming from some tough times, some real tough times. So, and in that season, it was like, you're not running. You're not jumping. Like,
I just think still,
where's the application?
Still, you can't get rid of him though. A player of that much,
and I don't think any of us will want to either.
Yeah, you can't, because he will go to whatever club, whether it's PSG or wherever he goes, and he will do well. And then once again, Man United, especially the fans, will look like idiots for wanting him out of the club.
Really?
And that's what. Yeah, he will do well.
I think Marcus Rashford could leave Man United and go to somewhere like PSG and just still have like. Obviously, it's an easier league, I think, so. Yeah, that'll probably suit him and stuff. But like, I think we also might be a little bit like, not like we've misprofiled him, but we've put him on a pedestal of a player of like, actually he's not, like, he is just a very good player on his day, but there's a lot of days where he's not on it. And that balances out to like, he's just good. He's not like, whoa, but like, also, I don't know. I don't know if we've kind of put him too high a player.
But like
I'm still working that out.
Like you said before, though, as well, it's like so hard to judge any United player like over this period because I say it with like so many United players, but imagine him under Pep. Like imagine him from 18 under Pep. Like I think there's multiple players, Martial.
I don't know though. I don't think his decision of how he understands the game and how he wants to play.
But he'd be taught the game better.
Yeah, I suppose. And again, I'm thinking of him now of like he always gives the ball away and doesn't make the right decision. But then I think he'd have been. From then.
I think he has slightly been, to a certain extent. Obviously, he's at fault for some of the stuff around him himself. But also, I think he has kind of like you were touching on, a little bit of a victim of his own success.
Yes.
By being like, we're holding up to standards of what he can be sometimes, hoping that he's that all the time when he probably just isn't.
He's never showed us
and
that
second
he is,
bit, he's been played through one of the most turbulent, inconsistent times that has been seen at a big club, period.
Yeah, ever.
And so hasn't necessarily had the education that you'd want some players to have, like at City, the education that Sterling went under to become the fantastic goal scorer that Sterling was, and kind of that De Bruyne's been under over the series of years under Pep to just become this elite level player, and other players as well. He just hasn't had the right education because the teacher, the manager, so to speak, has changed too many times.
Yeah.
And when he did have a person who was a fantastic attacking player in Solskjaer, Rashford and also Martial, etc., were fantastic players.
But then the argument was that he kind of got overplayed, and then.
Yeah,
but you can debate Rashford all day. I think. Hopefully, you can I do think he. I don't think he will go.
No, I don't think he will go.
I don't think he's going. There's 10, 12 players before that need to be sold before he would. Right, next we're going to move on to you have your things. We're going to play a game. We played it in the first week and it was really good fun. We're going to play it again. Game of true or false. I've got 10 statements that are either true or false. The guys have got to write down, do they think it's true, do they think it's false, and they'll just keep a little tally and we'll see who wins.
Let's go.
Or that's actually even smarter. You just have one side true, one side false.
Yeah, that's right.
You know the game.
You're better than me at this stuff now.
I'm hoping you don't stitch us off with these questions.
I do still feel bad about last week.
Be nice.
No, what was the one in the... I swear you done one in the first week where you were like, he's United's 6th top goal scorer or something like that with 132 goals, and it was like, no, it's 134 goals.
Yeah, make sure they're right.
Yeah.
I mean,
right,
let's go.
All right,
Number 1, David Beckham has worn 6 different shirt numbers at United. Ooh. So we've got false from Raph, false from Flex, false from Kane. It's true.
No.
Crazy.
He's worn 28, 15, 14, 19, 24 and 7.
I guess
it was when he was young, I don't remember him wearing
early
that many.
ones. No, he had a load of different numbers.
I imagine.
Crazy.
Was it like it was different each week? When did it get changed that it was like set number for the season?
This is all on Transfer Market, that
That's
website.
mad.
And they have every single number for every single season.
That's crazy.
Yeah, 6. I didn't know either.
I remember 28
numbers.
because Palestri mentioned it.
Yeah,
when he got the number. Oh, mad.
Question 2. Well, statement 2. Paul Pogba is one of 6 players who have won the World Cup while playing for United.
Nah.
Right, all 3 of you gone false. That is correct.
Yeah.
Is it 4? Is it 4?
It's only 4.
Yeah, that's way too many. I don't think we've had that many World Cup.
It was the England boys back in '68 and then Pogba in 2018.
And Martinez?
Yeah, Martinez.
I
5.
included him. So.
That's my bad.
Yeah.
Well, it's still wrong.
Yeah. But I included him, but I was like, nah.
I forgot about Martinez. He's been out for too long.
I
miss him so much. Right, number 3.
Hang on, did Trent win it?
I need...
no.
I'm keeping
Not
a
while he
tally,
was at
just in
United.
case.
Oh, no, he wasn't. No, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
Keep a tally of your scores, lads.
Yeah,
just in case. Because who was it? Rich the first week. I'm pretty sure he cheated.
Oh, yeah, no, he was like, I got like 8. And he got like 5.
I've ticked 1, I got 1 right.
Number 3. 57 is the lowest squad number to have never been used by a United player.
Lowest?
57 is the lowest.
Whatever.
That is
To have not been used.
To have not been used. So 56 and below have all been used.
Whatever.
At United.
Ever at United, yeah. He would have worn 57.
So all numbers
Yeah,
between
true.
1 and 56 have been used.
Oh, yeah. Because I don't know of anyone that's 57.
This,
that was.
All 3 of you, are you going true or false, Kane?
I'm going true, but I feel like this would have been too hard for you to find out.
Yeah.
It is true. Yeah,
Take
all
that.
numbers between 1 and 56 have been used.
What a crazy
mad.
random thing you just never know.
Yeah.
Oh, random, yeah, I know.
Well, you learn something new every day. Can't you talk?
Innit?
Right. Number 4. 7 of United's most expensive signings currently have a contract with the club.
7 of their most expensive?
Of their 10 most expensive. Sorry.
7 of the 10
So
most
7 of the top
expensive.
10 most expensive players United have ever signed currently have a contract with the club.
Blimey.
True or false?
No, 7.
Who's
Even at the
left
current
that was
thing, isn't it?
expensive?
Currently have a contract?
Yeah.
Now?
Yeah, we're talking
Have an
Sancho.
active-
We're talking Sancho.
I have put that in, yeah, just because of Sancho.
Yeah.
As in Sancho is in, or he's not?
Sancho
Yeah,
has a current
he's
contract with the
contracted.
club.
Yeah.
Nah, 7's too high.
So Kane's gone true, Flex is false. False, right. It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
That's
Anthony, Maguire, Sancho, Højlund, Casemiro, Bruno and Mason Mount.
How can I forget Casemiro and people like Mason Mount and that as well? That's crazy, yeah.
Yeah.
Big money.
Only
crazy.
three
And
have
Maguire
it,
was
and
80
it's-
million, I forget.
Do you
Even
know
Wan-Bissaka was 50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know who the other three
The other
were?
3 are Di Maria,
Pogba.
Lukaku and Pogba.
Yeah.
Oh, mad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes
The
sense.
7 of the 10 signings
just thought that
are
was
in
way too
this
much, but
current
actually
squad
that's
that we're always
crazy.
slating for not having enough good players in. 7 of the 10 most. Obviously inflation, but
Yeah, but
still.
don't matter, mate, yeah.
Crazy. Number 5. Man United currently have an official vice-captain. True or false?
Official.
Oh.
Oh, I don't know why I'm doing that.
Do it.
Who's the...
No, I don't think I do.
I think I would know if we had one.
Is it Varane? That's what.
So we've got...
I feel like, I don't know if this is I feel like Ten Hag said it in pre-season,
So we got
but I don't know.
Raph false, Flex false, Kane is true. It's false. There's no current dedicated
I
vice
don't
captain.
remember them ever saying.
Yeah.
Ten Hag's got like a group. I think he's got like a group of like 3 or 4
Oh,
players.
that's
Leadership
true,
after
actually.
Bruno.
He's got like a
Bloody
leadership group, but there's
leadership.
no.
Don't
So like
lead.
before it
Don't
was
do
like
nothing.
Bruno was dedicated last season. Before I think it was like Ashley Young and Antonio Valencia, or like Wayne Rooney and Antonio
Yeah.
Valencia.
Okay.
Right now, no. And number 6, another squad number question.
Oh, God.
Oh, no.
Alejandro
Why? I hate
Garnacho.
the squad number 1.
Alejandro Garnacho's number 75 shirt is the highest ever squad number handed to a United player.
75.
Surely not.
Don't remember him having that. I'm rubbish.
Is in
with
his
squad
first
numbers.
season.
What was...
I'm going to say true.
I'm saying false.
It's got Flex is true, Raph is false, Kane you're false. It is false.
Yeah.
What's with
It's
it? Wait,
currently it's Tyler Fredrickson, who's number
What's-
80, which is the highest ever number used by a
What's
United
with-
player.
I knew that.
what's Kangwala's? What's
60
Kangwala's?
something?
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
it's
not. He's
not.
not.
I was basing it off of
I'm
him.
rubbish
It's
at numbers,
Tyler
bro.
Fredrickson.
Numbers is probably my worst thing.
If you can tell, I was going
Even in
through all the
history,
squad
like,
numbers
I'm
this
not good at
morning, and
numbers.
that's how I came up with half these
got it.
answers. Right. What are the scores currently?
I got 3.
Kane,
I got 4.
3, 4,
4.
4.
Somehow.
Close.
Number 7. Solskjaer is the only United manager to be appointed permanently after an interim period at the club.
Ooh. Yeah,
False.
I feel like before my time there was something.
Yeah.
So I don't know enough. Like,
He's saying
did Matt
false.
Busby come in and then like they saw how it went and then gave him the job? I don't know. Atkinson,
Oh,
all these kind of man. I don't know.
This is a ridiculous question.
I felt.
I'm gonna go false.
Was
So
it
all 3 of you
regular?
gone false.
Wait, no. I want to say someone did do it. So what was the question again?
That Solskjaer's the only person for it to happen to.
Oh yeah, so
if someone
else
did.
did,
Yeah.
All 3 gone false, you would be correct.
Yeah.
Yep,
Who was
there
it?
was it was a manager called Wilf McGuinness in
Oh, Wilf McGuinness,
1969.
yeah.
He was an interim.
Yeah, he was interim.
Yeah, my guy.
No, I didn't know he was interim. But I know he was our manager. Is what I mean, at one stage. Yeah.
And this is my favourite question of all of them. The Pope once refused to meet any Man United players or staff due to the devil on the club's badge.
Oh, I'll go false.
He loves Lissandro Martinez.
There have been multiple popes.
Yeah, there's loads of popes.
It's not just Nick Pope. Right, so Flex has gone true, Raph is false, Kane is false. It is true.
I'm thinking back in the
no.
1900s, like
It
when
was
the
in
club
the
was first.
it was in the 1980s.
Yeah.
Pope, I've got it written down here. Pope John Paul II visited Manchester. He got offered to visit United, and he outright refused.
Yeah. I can imagine that. You're the Pope. There's going to be a Pope who's like proper pedantic. He said, "Nah, mate, they've got a devil on their thing. I ain't going there."
Yeah.
I can just imagine that.
He like flat out refused. He got the offer and everything, and he was just like, no, "I'm not going anywhere near anyone
okay.
to do with that club." Number 9. Only Bruno Fernandes, with 8, has more yellow cards than Andre Onana this season. True or false?
Out of the Man United squad, obviously.
Yeah, this
right?
Only Bruno Fernandes.
That's more than
Has-
Nana.
More yellow cards than Andre Onana this season in the United squad.
Oh, so it's only about Onana and so.
How
Only
many-
Bruno.
only
No,
Bruno
I'm going
has
to say
more.
false.
How
No,
many has
false.
Onana got?
No.
And
No, don't say
No, you can't. We
answer.
can't
Yeah,
get
yeah,
extra
yeah.
stuff.
false. You've all
Mate,
said
the
false.
question is the question. It's true
so
or false?
Onana has 4 this season.
Does he?
And that is false. Yeah.
Casemiro, mate. It's got to be up there.
Yeah.
No, Casemiro doesn't, because he's been injured for so long. Luke Shaw's on 6, and then Sergio Reguilon on 5.
But we're still right. Anyway.
You're still right, yeah.
Yeah, we'll take it.
And then last one, Sir Alex Ferguson's first signing for United was Viv Anderson. True or false?
Who? I don't know who that is.
Or was he Alex Ferguson's first signing?
Who?
Viv Anderson,
No, I don't.
back in the day,
Yeah. Gonna go
before my
false.
time.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm wrong, aren't I?
You don't know,
So
mate. It's
Kane and Flex
50-50.
have gone true. Raph, you're false. It is true.
Yeah, man, like Viv,
I
bro.
lost in the last round.
What a guy.
So final scores on the doors. We've got Kane on 7. Flex, you got
7.
7.
6.
Raph, you got 6.
That was decent.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that. Not too bad.
7's pretty good.
Respectable.
The questions
Considering
were better.
some of
Yeah,
the
respectable.
some of the questions are a bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
I was literally just sat there on Transfer Market going through all the squad numbers.
Squad
I like
number.
the squad numbers. I'm a massive nerd though, so.
I was impressed when was it Yusuf? I think he got like a mad squad number in his top devil. Who was
Yeah, it might have been like Forson's
Yeah,
squad number
he
or
did
something
do well.
like
Yeah.
that, yeah.
I can't do squad numbers above like 20.
I'm not good at squad numbers. I'm not good.
I think if I had any squad number, I'd pick 14.
Javier Hernandez.
Well, Jesse Lingard's why I would do it, because he's one of my favourite players. But,
Man, I feel.
but all right, next we're going to move on to controversial topic. We talked about this last week. Me and Marcel had a bit of a debate on Erik Ten Hag, but this week there's been a lot about, if Ten Hag was to go, obviously Ineos clearly haven't decided yet if they're going to stick or twist with him. But there's been a lot about who they could replace. There's been a lot of names. For example, Graham Potter has been talked about a lot even before they came in. De Zerbi's had a lot of names the other day. Southgate appeared as apparently a potential option according to ESPN.
I feel like you still shouldn't put him on.
And then
I still feel like he should not be in. I don't care if he was mentioned. He
and
still
then
shouldn't make it to the graphic.
there's been stuff about Thomas Tuchel as well. But let's say in the scenario that Ten Hag does go, let's say, we lose to Everton and just stuff kind of collapses. We don't get Champions League, which we probably won't. FA Cup, we not get knocked out to Liverpool. It's not looking good. And Ten Hag goes. Who comes in? Because there's a race at the moment. Several clubs are looking for new managers. Liverpool are going to need a new manager. England might need a new manager if Southgate goes. And Germany might need a new manager, and obviously, like Klopp might go or not. Bayern need a new manager as well. So there's a lot of potential managers, and also City might need a new manager after next season if Pep doesn't continue his current, sign a new contract.
Come on.
So who should United get? And what kind of style do they want? And yeah.
Well, that's the interest that Ratcliffe did say, and it's like music to everyone's ears that he said the club's going to be playing a specific style which everyone within the club's going to work towards, and the managers that they get are going to be geared towards playing that way. So hopefully we won't, even if we sign a manager and it's a year and a half, 2 years, and they end up doing badly and getting sacked, hopefully because that structure's in place, the next manager, you won't be going from a Louis van Gaal to a Jose Mourinho. You'll be going from whoever we get, hopefully not Gareth Southgate, to someone with a similar kind of idea. So that's one positive, I think. I don't really know who's going to come in, to be honest. And I feel like anyone who gets linked is just immediately worse than they were before they were linked.
Yeah.
Like De Zerbi earlier this season, when they were going on a good patch, I feel like it was absolutely everywhere that, he's so much better than Ten Hag. United should look at him. And now they've gone through difficulties. He's actually linked to the job, and I feel like everyone's like dismissing it. And I'm not sure whether he'd be good enough for United, but I just find it quite funny that he was so highly regarded earlier this season because of their form, and now it's kind of gone off of here.
He has lost a lot of his main guys though, De Zerbi.
Last summer
they missed quite a few.
Yeah, it's difficult because, like you say, you don't know what type of manager they're going to want because the people who make that decision aren't even really here yet.
Yeah.
But just from a fan perspective, I think this is a key time because there's so many people who need new managers, like what you're saying. It's like, we can't get it wrong, or you can't afford not to be at the table anyway at this time. I like Nagelsmann, man. Yeah. I do. I keep going back to that. I like Nagelsmann. The De Zerbi thing, I just worry about like his personality, and I don't mean that to slate him. I mean it of like, what would it be like once he gets scrutinised at this level or has to follow a certain suit at this level? He's a very fiery character, which can come across well at times, but at a club like Man United, sometimes maybe not so. I do worry about he is so open and it's so expansive.
Yeah.
Like, because at Brighton, the narrative can be a lot different to United. So when Brighton go on these good runs, when they're smashing teams and they're playing beautiful football and they're coming into the pockets and it's amazing, all these words here. You say, oh, wow. But then when they're going Luton and getting spanked when they're getting spanked at home by West Ham, when they
goes under the rug.
Do you know what I mean? And like they just can't, like, they're as open as anything, like defending, like championship level defending. You go, but Brighton are still overachieved, still Brighton, no man, they're doing brilliant. Can't do that at Man United. Look what's happened to Ten Hag when we've been getting some serious batterings, like, and being open and expansive in the wrong way.
Yeah.
So, that worries me.
Yeah.
The Potter situation, I would say no, but then Ineos, I feel, could be like, do you know what? We think if we give him the right structure, which he didn't have at Chelsea, which he did have at Brighton, we think he could be the guy. Because again, the same similar to De Zerbi, you smash it at Brighton, you're the best thing since sliced bread, you go up a level, it didn't work. Now all of a sudden, Graham Potter's a rubbish manager. When the whole way through Osterson's beat Arsenal, now he's at Brighton, look how good this guy is. That's why he should go Chelsea, he deserves a big job. Then it was all he done was got a haircut and neaten up himself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he came in mid-season at Chelsea as well, didn't he? It's like,
I think as well as the tactical side of things, another thing that Ineos would have to think about is the characters of the players at Manchester United and then the character or personality of the manager. I remember listening and watching a podcast, it was The Overlap with, and Wayne Rooney was the guest this time, and he spoke about being there when David Moyes took over from Fergie, and the players just didn't respect him, and they didn't allow him to implement his style of play or to, to really be in charge in the way that Alex Ferguson was. And I feel as though that's what Ineos needs to think about. They need to think, someone like Southgate and Graham Potter, are the big stars at United going to look at them and really listen and respect them and give the manager a chance to do what he needs to do? Or are they going to look at Southgate and think, well, what have you won? How are you telling me what to do when I've won 5 Champions Leagues at Real Madrid? Or however many. Do you see what I mean? So I think, yes, we can think about the tactical side of things, and I agree that there needs to be an alignment between the manager and the board, who aren't even here yet, but then also it's about the character and bringing in someone that they're going to respect.
Is that not a bit of a red flag on the players' side, though?
100%.
If the players are going in and going, I'm not going to play for you because I don't respect you, without giving the managers a chance or acting like they could do a better job.
It is a red flag because they haven't got credit in the bank, but it is a normal part of football that happens where it's like, I'm not having him. The way he's carrying on, I just don't really, his method, But the biggest thing that we're forgetting is the players are going to be leaving.
Yeah,
like not all in one window. But I do believe that Ineos are like, listen, we're dismantling this thing. And again, that's my biggest thing, is that it all has to change. And I think some people who maybe don't want Ten Hag to get sacked, and that's completely fine, I can see why there's reasons for that. I feel like sometimes they forget that Ineos are going to slowly dismantle this squad as well. It isn't going to be doing the same old thing of just keep the manager and keep everything else the same. They're not going to do that, players included. So I think it also depends on not just how the players will receive him, but what type of players Ineos want to start getting at United. Do you know what I mean? What the brand of football would dictate the brand of players that you get, but would also dictate the type of manager you get. So they all kind of have to work in harmony.
In unison.
Yeah, exactly.
Nagelsmann's a good one as well, because we mentioned how a few managers have made poor decisions and their stocks are low. He actually done well at Bayern.
He's doing right.
It's a really controversial kind of situation. So his stocks are still pretty high.
And Bayern's that club, innit, where there's just stuff that could go on.
Champions,
and do you know what?
Oh, he was doing well in the Champions League as well, wasn't he? They were. It was their best Champions League campaign for first group stage, and I think round of 16. But I'm not too sure on if Ten Hag goes. I'm not too sure who I'd prefer. There's is it the Sporting managers quite? Is it Sporting? There's rumours to do with that as well, which I see some people which I know their stuff saying that he's quite a promising manager. I'm not too clued up on it, to be honest, but yeah, I'm just glad as well, because a few of the reports have said that United, a lot of these recent reports with Southgate, with Potter, with all the different names, they are saying the decision's not made on Ten Hag 100%, but Ineos are aware of these different clubs also looking for managers, and they're getting prepared, and it's just another little green tick. Even if they're planning to eventually keep Ten Hag, which they could do, no one really knows. But I'm just glad that they're acting because there's these other clubs. Because you could just imagine it, couldn't you? with Ineos not in the picture, it would be like, oh, we want to keep Ten Hag, we want to keep Ten Hag, we want to keep Ten Hag. Start of next season's like dodgy, he gets sacked, and then it's like, oh, all the good managers have been taken because Bayern. So I'm glad that that's kind of the approach that we're taking now, if we're to believe the reports. But I'm not too sure on who the successor should be.
Who is, out of these managers, who is best in class? Because the phrase they keep using at Ineos is, we want the best in class. Omar Arbor is best in class, Dan Ashworth is best in class.
I think Nagelsmann is the one who's got the most kind of respect in the game at the moment. He's almost like, he's really young still. He's kind of like
he's the youngest of them all, isn't he?
Maybe Tuchel as well.
Tuchel maybe, yeah.
But I mean, style of play-wise, I'm not sure if that's the best fit.
Tuchel's a weird one, you know, because he's somewhat like, this guy won the Champions League not long ago.
Yeah, exactly.
And
could go this year as well.
Exactly, yeah. And I think should not have been sacked by Chelsea at the time he was. And there's bits of Tuchel sometimes that I quite like. His charisma, the way he speaks, the way his team plays sometimes. But he has this stigma that like it just goes wrong. Actually, no, tactics. And I've seen a lot of people online saying, keep him way away from our club. No, not Tuchel, not Tuchel. And it's like, Tuchel, De Zerbi. It's like, I don't, like, they have different qualities, but De Zerbi's not been at the top level yet. He's on the rise. Again, it's Gareth Southgate's face. It's just, just turn around looking at him. Just like, he's not going to be our manager. He won't. But listen, strange things have happened.
For me, Tuchel gives me kind of expiration date vibes. Same with that
really already.
No, as in terms of like you know when Mourinho, like it feels like when you appoint Mourinho, there is an expiration date on that point. As in like it will go wrong at some point. Maybe just because what happened at Chelsea and what has happened at Bayern with Tuchel. Just for me, it feels like that'll only work for a few seasons. Like it doesn't feel like Tuchel's the kind of guy who would. I mean, I can't remember exactly how long he was at Dortmund for. But it just feels like the kind of guy where after like maybe 3 or 4 seasons, something will happen and it'll just kind of go haywire and we will end up being reset. Whereas the other guys, like potentially Nagelsmann, De Zerbi, I don't know too much about, Potter, etc. They feel like there's more of a chance that won't happen with them, assuming everything goes correctly. Whereas with Tuchel, even if things go well at Bayern, it's not exactly like they're going. I know they're not winning the league this season, or they're not top at the moment, but it's not exactly like he's in a relegation battle with them or anything. But it just feels like there's a slight kind of expiration tag on him in the same way that there has been with Mourinho.
It'll be interesting as well because, like I said a minute ago, where it seems like Ineos, with what Ratcliffe said, seems like they want a manager for the style rather than catering to the manager. I just don't think Tuchel would make sense because then if that doesn't work, you're not really finding there's a really like probably limited amount of managers who would have the same style as what Tuchel does, which I think is quite different to a lot of different managers. So that wouldn't make sense to me with what Ratcliffe has said and what the kind of Ineos reports are.
I don't think we can rule out like just some not unknown, but like really
left
far,
field
manager. And it's like this guy's like really young and experienced. Like, oh my god, I didn't expect this, or like,
the back.
Do you know what I mean? yeah. I mean, because I just feel like there is a lot of moving parts this summer, and we've got to make the right appointment. But I don't know, because we're in uncharted territory with Ineos coming in. We just don't really have a clear. That's why this conversation is quite weird and difficult, because it's like
we don't know.
And that coupled with the fact that genuine world-class managers are at a massive premium. Like Xabi Alonso is going to probably choose between Bayern and Liverpool. Ancelotti is still there. Like, all right, Hansi Flick, but
maybe we can hope that obviously the CEO stuff, Barada wasn't in the talk at all.
Ineos moving the dial.
So maybe there could be something similar where it's like a manager that hasn't really been spoken about. But like you say, you don't really look at the market for managers and go, there we go.
Although
that's the man.
It is going to be a manager's market, because so many teams need one.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think it's important as well that if Ineos feels though there isn't a better manager out there than Ten Hag, I would just keep Ten Hag in for another season. Keep him in there, and especially if Ten Hag's style of play isn't far away from what Ineos want, buy players that suit that style of play and just give it one more season. There's no point in us getting someone like Southgate or Potter because they're the only managers we can get, and then it doesn't work. Yeah. Then we'll be thinking, well, we might as well just stuck with Ten Hag and got him better players. Yeah, I don't want them either. We don't want them.
I would like to see that for Ten Hag, just because like the stick with every United manager since Fergie has been the structure. Like maybe apart from Moyes, because it was only one season that he was at the club, but it would be nice to see one of those managers go from that and hopefully have a season in an improved structure. But I don't think you can get annoyed at Ineos if they take the decision to look elsewhere, because that's what happens when a new ownership kind of takes over the footballing side. It's quite regular, so be interesting to see. It would be nice to see Ten Hag not buy any more Ajax players. have Dan Ashworth looking at elsewhere.
I mean, I don't know if you saw the Ole podcast that came out last night on the Overlap again, but even he was saying he wants Erik ten Hag to do well. He spoke about how there was issues with the recruitment and the scouting department. So when, Haaland for 20 million, and then again another release clause that was, I think, 60 million, he said. So when you hear things like that from literally the last manager before Ten Hag, when I hear that, it makes me think, you know what, we shouldn't really get rid of Ten Hag right now. Fix the structure and then see how we can move forward, especially once again, if their style of play is in alignment. Yeah,
the Solskjaer interview is something I was going to touch on, because like last week I did say that, you know, if I think Ten Hag should go because of the current context situation of if they're cleaning house, you may as well clean everyone out, including the manager. But then I was watching the Solskjaer thing this morning, and one thing he said which surprised me was he said the season he got sacked, he thinks if he hadn't been sacked, although he said he knew he was going to get sacked at half time, he thinks that the club still would have got Champions League.
And because he said, look, when I left, not my
and it just,
that's actually what he said.
It did just get me thinking about, even obviously in the situation that he was in, he was still positive that there was a solid way that the club still could get top four. And it kind of goes to show that, you know, there is still like the chance that Ten Hag could do well potentially. If Solskjaer's thinking that at the thing he was in, Ten Hag, I say, isn't actually in as bad of a situation as Solskjaer wasn't at that time. And obviously, we're probably not going to get Champions League this season unless an absolute miracle occurs. We're 11 points behind with 11 games left. But
the problem is, if we get Champions League, it might be with bloody Liverpool or City having European success. So it might be a.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get Champions League.
But also, he is in a. Ten Hag is kind of in a worse situation though, because they're both really bad for different reasons. Ten Hag's in a bad situation. Ole was in a bad situation because, like he said, the players just gave up on him. Literally, he knew he was done.
You can't argue that with Ten Hag.
No, you can't argue that with Ten Hag.
Haven't given up on Ten
Hag. The reason why Ten Hag is in a bad situation is because there's new owners.
Yeah,
there's new people
who are. He's in a more uncertain situation.
They didn't bring him in. Ineos have no allegiance to Erik ten Hag. And this is why I say the situation where we look at Arteta and Arsenal and try to draw the parallel, see, but they stuck with him and look, he came out the other side. I hear that, but it's a completely different context.
They brought him in.
They brought Arteta in, and after they brought him in, they went eighth, and they went, no, we need to get it right with this guy. We did it. Let's change everything of how we operate. Ineos are gonna go well, we don't have to do that. It's not on us.
And they might be looking for their own Arteta.
There you go. And that's the guy they're really gonna push.
It is a pointless argument, I think. Like comparing those situations.
It's not the same.
And in that exact situation that Arsenal were in, like that's very fortunate and like rare that Arteta turned it around like he has.
Yeah.
A lot of managers don't turn that around.
No. But a big part of why they did is because they really did believe it was their man, and then they had like the savvy to like actually change stuff, which again we've never not had until Ineos have come. So.
And talking about kind of Erik ten Hag's job security or lack of, we had the derby. There was a lot of surrounding talk about is he going to stay in the job or not. And previewing to this Everton game, it could be quite a big game. I think it's the perfect opportunity for his sake to not start Garnacho. Because that kid is 19 now, and he's played 23. He started 23 games in a row, and I think played obviously most of them. If he's come off, it's almost always been with a couple of minutes left.
Getting knackered as well.
you saw what that did to Saka last season a bit, playing every single game. You've seen what's happened. So is it Gavi, who's now had multiple long-time injuries, and he's only 20 years old after playing 65 games for Spain and Barcelona. I'm a little bit worried about Garnacho playing so many games in a row. I get that he's been a really important part of Ten Hag's side recently, kind of his constant energy and everything. But I think now is a very good time to not play him. Bring him off the bench, because like you said before, when we played City last season, we won that game because he came off the bench and he assisted Rashford for Rashford's winning goal, and he was generally just terrorising them at Old Trafford. And I think it would be a really good chance to give him just a couple games not to play, even if we've had a whole week break.
The problem is about this Everton game, which obviously at the time of recording we haven't seen the presser yet. Rasmus told a fan he might be back, but we don't know.
Yeah.
And at home against Everton, Ten Hag's got some decisions to make actually, because you can't really have just Bruno in a false nine to make you have to kind of play normally. It's Everton at home, and it's you really don't trust Anthony, but does he put Rashford back through the middle, and then we've still got a few players missing. Bruno back to his normal position. Have to bring in Anthony on the right, Garnacho on the left. If you take out Garnacho in this game, what would he do? Because if Rasmus Højlund's not there,
it's quite
who's
difficult
going to play?
Find the replacement.
Yeah, and that's probably why he's had to play so much. On top of that, like what you're saying, there's over-reliance on him, and he shouldn't even need to be playing these games, so much games. But it's that's the biggest problem at Man United that pisses me off, to be honest, because it's these young guys that we're getting. So Kobbie Mainoo's come through. We're saying, bro, there's no bedding in period. Need you now. I need you to be the best now, which is ridiculous. Which was the whole problem at Man United. Rasmus Højlund, he only scored 9 goals last year. I need you to do better than that, which he actually has done in the end. But I need you now. Garnacho, right? Last year was your breakthrough season. I need you to arrive and play like you said, 21 games. It just shouldn't be happening. Yeah. The guy who's 80 million, we can't rely on him. The manager doesn't even want to play him, and he's played him against Forest. Okay, fair enough. Took him out for the big one against City. Do you go back to him now because Rasmus still isn't there? It's had a knock-on effect throughout the squad, because the players who are meant to be doing the job they're meant to do haven't done it. So the players who maybe should be kept back a little bit have had to do more. And then we've got shit players on top of that as well in some of the other positions. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
No, I do agree though that Garnacho's played a lot of games.
Yeah. I think he's being overplayed.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think his performances to a certain extent are suffering because of it.
Because he actually hasn't been good in some.
He's had a little bit of a decline recently.
Yes, I agree with
kind
that.
of week in, week out, twice a week.
It's just the timing. If we can wait until the Brentford game after the Liverpool game, if we can wait until then and then rest Garnacho, by then Højlund should definitely be back. I think that's better. But a player that I think should be coming in for this Everton game is Diallo. We need someone to come into that front line. You've got Rashford. He's not.
You don't like him.
But why though? It's really.
I think we have to say this. It ain't gonna happen. Ten Hag has showed us enough.
But why?
But we started forcing.
Yeah, but did you not think it wasn't going to happen with Garnacho as well? Because at one point I thought Ten Hag's just not going to play Garnacho. Right at the start of the season, he wasn't starting Garnacho. Garnacho only started games from about November or October period of time.
We found out why, where they were holding it. He was on the tour and they held him back because of the stuff with his attitude, and he late to some meetings and stuff. So they just deliberately I just think Ahmad's thing was he was supposed to go on loan but got injured. So that means Ten Hag doesn't think he's ready.
Do you think?
I think he doesn't think he's ready.
I found it interesting though. Who did he come? Was it the Forest game?
Was
it the Forest game? That was his first. After that game, Ahmad said in an interview that he was surprised that he got brought on in that game. So, I mean, it's been quite a while since then, but maybe it's kind of the first few weeks of that where he wasn't even making appearances off the bench were maybe still
towards the end
fitness related.
Also, the club had offers for him to go on loan in January, probably. Like the Sunderland director or manager, one of them, said something along the lines of we wanted to bring him in. But
obviously Palestri went on loan.
If he didn't go on loan, then clearly there's something there that Ten Hag wants him at least somewhat, but that might just be as a backup.
Yeah, maybe.
I just don't think Ten Hag thinks he's ready, but he is dropping him in here and there. But
we need someone for Everton.
He's going to play Anthony.
Maybe,
he started Anthony against Forest and was bigging him up. He just didn't play him because the derby's too big. I think he'll just play Anthony against Everton.
It could.
I think it's
because obviously the past few weeks it's Anthony's got dropped a couple times. And I think it was the first time in the media that Ten Hag has actually criticised him, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
While
he was still so bullish.
yeah,
I know he's going to do this.
Yeah.
He's the fastest over 10 yards, like gassing him up.
Yeah.
Like, and then he started him at Forest because he
Yeah.
had to. But so if Rasmus is not here, I think he starts thingy again.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. With the Garnacho, going back to that Garnacho point, because I was looking at it after we spoke about it the other day, I found it quite interesting. In the Premier League last year, we had the most goal contributions from substitutes in the Premier League, and Garnacho was the highest for that. I think it was around 5 goals, 2 or 3 assists. This year, we're around about 10th or around about the mid-table, and that's mostly due to McTominay, which is a really different kind of player to come off the bench. It's more, you throw it, it's a completely different approach.
It's a kitchen sink job.
Yeah,
Right?
whereas I think it was Garnacho, Rashford, Martial, a couple of them, it was that kind of attacking threat off the bench, which we are missing. Like,
there's
the
no one
players
to
off the, you look at Ahmad and Anthony are the 2 main attackers at the moment, which are your bench options really. Neither of them are electric. Like, even if, I think some people are unsure about Ahmad, some people say he should bloody start now, but I don't think anyone's going to say that he's not the kind of player that makes an impact from the bench.
Exactly.
Like, he needs, if he's going to be successful and going to kind of like make strides at United, it's going to be through working hard to then get a starting spot.
Yeah.
And then, because I think he's similar to the idea what everyone had with Sancho. Do you remember that period when Sancho was making appearances from the bench? And it's like, he's not going to do anything. He's not, even if he's playing well, he's not a player who's going to like come off the bench and like scare a fullback. So that I think that's a problem. But like you said, how are you dropping him against Everton?
I just don't think he will. But I will say this though, I don't care about any mitigating circumstances, right? If Rasmus is not back, or but we have Lindelof left back, or what's his face had to go there. Amrabat had to go left back. I don't care. If we're not beating Everton at home.
Oh, that's. But this was going to be my next question. Was how important is this Everton game? Like, I'm not one to want to just throw and pile pressure whenever we can.
No, but it's there.
The controversy, but to a certain extent, it's just true. If we win this game,
back-to-back home losses against Fulham and Everton.
There's only so long.
It'll be our 3rd loss in the Premier in a row.
But I will say this though, it doesn't mean there will be a change because of it. Because I just think there's like 10 games left. Like
it's almost too far gone.
Yeah, like nothing will change from that to the end of the season. Because who are you going to get in? Dan Ashworth's not here yet. Omar, like they won't do it. But I'm just saying it would just prove that like okay, there's nothing.
Yeah. I think, as I said earlier, we can't keep blaming injuries.
I'm tired.
For losing.
100%.
Because even when our players are injured, I mean, look, player for player, our squad, our team, whatever team we put out on Saturday will be better than Everton's. So then it's down to how do we play and how up for it are the players. Both of them, to me, are mostly down to the manager. Obviously, it's still down for the players to want to play themselves, and it's down for the players to understand the tactics and implement them. But a lot of it's down to the manager, and that's big from Flex saying that actually, because you've been saying for a lot of the time that it's on the players, it's on the players, it's on the players, but you can only go so far with putting it completely on the players and not on the manager at all. So big game on Saturday, big game for Ten Hag.
It's massive.
Yeah, with United, obviously Everton will probably play a pretty low block. They'll be they're not exactly going to be playing Barcelona-esque expansive football at Old Trafford, and let's say in the absence of Højlund, let's say he doesn't play, hopefully he does. How should United go about beating Everton? Because Rashford up front's been against low blocks, not been great.
Yeah. Got to be on the front foot. Have to keep the width. Can't have players coming from out to in too quickly because that just feeds into Everton's game plan. We can't be throwing up aimless crosses from wide areas to probably Rashford if Rasmus doesn't play. Even if it is Rasmus, it's Tarkowski and flipping Branthwaite, just up and it's meat and drink for them. So you have to pick your moments of when you do cross, and move the ball quickly. That's it. It's as simple. You've got to be on the front foot, and that's why. You have to just
playing in syrup or something.
100 exactly, bro. We've got to just be on it and move the ball quickly. But like I said, you just get it done whatever you do. Because if you don't. And it's not even for me to be like, now we're back in for top 4 because Villa and Spurs are playing each other. I've clocked out of that. I'm just saying for our own mental health, for our own thing, bro. Back-to-back losses at Old Trafford to Fulham, who ain't won there in 21 years, and Everton, who ain't won a game in 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. Forget it. That's what my thing
I think
is.
also an important thing is we're not just on it for the first 20 or 30 minutes like we have in a lot of games this season.
Keep it
Going the whole game. I think one of our best games this season was actually at Goodison Park.
Yeah.
Beating them, was it 3-0?
Garnacho scored in the opening moments. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but then one thing that was good about that game is it wasn't just his brilliant moment at the start. We were pretty much consistent until the end of the game. That's what we need at Old Trafford. It should be easier at Old Trafford than it was at Goodison Park. When we went to Goodison Park, if you remember, that was just after they were given their 10-point deduction.
Yeah. It was
and everyone was
their
saying,
first game at Goodison
wow, the atmosphere is going to be difficult for the players. And then we went and won 3-0.
To be fair, I think that Garnacho dagger in the first few minutes did help.
Of course.
But like you said, we did keep
from then to half time, mate, Everton were doing all right and they should have scored a good few.
Yeah.
And then we came out in the second half, got a penalty, and then that was it. It was over.
Yeah.
So it was even that was a.
I do think
weird game.
This weekend, performance-wise, we could play the deepest block you've ever seen. All I care about is that we don't get absolutely opened up between the midfield and defence.
Yeah.
If that just continues to happen every game, I feel like it is pointless. Win, lose or draw.
Well, he changed that against Forest. That didn't happen against Forest. City, we don't count because of the way we approach the game.
Yeah.
But then the last game before that was Fulham, where we did get opened up. So the immediate game after Fulham, which was Forest, there was a difference. It wasn't great, that game.
Yeah,
It wasn't great at all. But we did create chances, and it wasn't like them just running through our midfield. Because you're right.
But that's the thing that I just know. Ever since it's kind of been pointed out, because last season it came in spurts, especially after Casemiro got the kind of suspension, came back and he was finding his feet kind of back in the squad. That was where it started creeping in, because beforehand he was dealing with it all, that first half of that season, and then obviously this year, I feel bad for Casemiro and Amrabat when he's played in there, and Mainu, because it's what are you meant to do?
Yeah. Got to cover so much space.
And I remember having the same conversations under Ollie as well, where that midfield, it was Fred and McTominay. It was all solid, and then it slowly started to just get opened up. It feels like that's just a thing that is repetitive.
I think it's because the players are getting more desperate for wins, or desperate to kind of play, and they start overplaying and they start running too much, and then they start going left, right, out of position, all this. But round it up, score predictions. What do we think?
2-1 United.
I'll stick to what I said on the preview. 2-0 United.
I was going to say 2-0 as well. I'll change it now. I don't want to have the same prediction. I'll go 3-0.
3-0?
Yeah, out of nowhere.
I'm going to say 2-0. I think we're going to keep a clean sheet.
Yeah, I was going to say, if we keep a clean sheet, Onana's up there, isn't he?
Onana's, we said this on the pod last week. Onana's been quality in the last few months.
He was very good against
We can officially say
City,
turn the
he was
corner.
fantastic.
Even against City,
He was really good against
I think against City,
Forest.
Onana and Varane, I felt bad that they were on the losing side.
100%.
They were both very good.
Yeah, Varane was good as well. Yeah.
I'm not saying anything.
I think that about wraps up episode 7. If you guys enjoyed, please let us know your thoughts on what we've been talking about, any improvements on the game show, etc. Also let us know down in the comments. Remember, you can listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And apart from that, thank you lot for coming on, and we'll see you guys next week.